sure that all the classes are covered with instructors, finding the curriculum for the kids program, the adults program, making sure that everyone's going to be there. There's a lot more that goes into coaching and running the gym than just showing up and training. I think that was the biggest change from being someone who just trained the gym to running it, is that you're kind of in charge of making sure everyone is training safely, making sure people get hurt, everyone's being included and having fun. There's a lot more to it than just showing up and getting your workout in.
Yeah. So we'll play off of that a little bit. What are some of the positives and negatives of running it here specifically? It's driven pretty locally. It's a small business, and on top of that, it's you have the MMA aspect, jiu-jitsu, and then you have the other classes. So what does that kind of create for you? What are some of the positives and negatives, like I said?
I mean, the cool thing about jiu-jitsu and running a gym locally like this is that you get to meet people from all walks of life. I feel like if you're not involved in a business like this, or even part of the gym, a lot of the times you're working to be surrounded by people who are very like you. Whereas here at the gym, you have a very different mix of people, cops, doctors, teachers, garbage men. There's a mix of everyone. So you kind of get a lot of different perspectives, and there's a good sense of community here where, you get to really meet different people. I think that's a big part of it. And, it's nice. We have a bunch of other local business owners who train here at the gym. So, everyone kind of supports each other and helps each other out. That's definitely a big part of it.
Yeah. So were you at all worried about, as your history in martial arts, that a lot of what you see on the big MMA gyms is legitimacy of the coaches, their history? Were you worried at all, or were you pretty confident in what you were going to bring to the area in that respect?
Well, when I opened up here, there wasn't really a lot in the area, so I thought it was a good spot. I got lucky. It's close to my house, and there wasn't a lot of competition. But before I got into teaching, I was competing a lot. I flew mixed martial arts. Won an amateur title. Competed at the highest level in jiu-jitsu. At brown belt, black belt. Won a lot of matches. So I'm very confident in my ability as an instructor and a competitor. And, I'm happy to be able to share that with the area. But I've never looked at it and thought, this person has a world champion here teaching, I can't compete with that. It's always been about just sharing what I've learned throughout my journey in jiu-jitsu and all different grappling arts that I've done, and kind of bringing it to the gym and sharing with everybody else. So, I think we have a strong program here, and I don't really worry about other bigger gyms, competition.
Yeah, for the record, I just asked that for the project. I believe you completely, and I'm bought in. What you guys got going on, so don't worry about that. What are the keys to marketing? Do you use more social media? Are you promoting? On the local aspect, are you promoting in newspapers, online? Like, what are some of your main tactics?
Well, nowadays I feel like you kind of have to do a little bit of everything. If you don't get out there and you're not running Google ads, Facebook ads, doing even they do children's events where there's a bunch of booths set up. Bringing mats there and doing demonstrations and getting kids involved to try to get them to the kids program. Giving people an idea of what we do. Going on podcasts like this. There's a lot of different things that you can do to really get the word out there. And as far as online advertising, a lot of that is, it's just money, putting money into Google, putting money into Facebook, working with people who really know how to design your ads and making sure that you're reaching the groups you want. But there's a lot to be said for just going out there and reaching out to your community, doing things locally and getting the word out. Like I said earlier, we've got a lot of other local business owners here, and I try to work with them and, allow them to advertise in our space, leave pamphlets, business cards, things like that. And they do the same for me. And it works out great. It's nice to be able to kind of help each other out.
All right, moving on I guess we'll do this. Besides jiu-jitsu, what else do you guys offer and how does that benefit the business and just the community of community at the gym? I know we have Blake doing wrestling. You know, there's Muay Thai classes, and then the kids classes for jujitsu. But yeah, I guess just talk about what you guys offer.
Well, we have, especially at the new spot, we've got a lot of space. So I feel like a gym like this, you know, we started as just a jiu-jitsu gym, but we have all this space and we may as well fill it. So it's nice to be able to bring other martial arts into it. And a lot of people who like jiu-jitsu and like coming in and grappling, half of them have a wrestling background to begin with. They still like to wrestle. You know, they haven't done wrestling since high school or college, and you know, it's nice to be able to combine wrestling into the program. Striking is the same, whether it's boxing, kickboxing. You know, it's nice to be able to run those type of classes here too, because a lot of it goes hand in hand, and a lot of the guys also want to fight MMA. So being able to provide boxing, kickboxing, you know, jiu-jitsu, wrestling, everything all together in the same spot and kind of be able to build people up and get them ready for, you know, amateur and pro fights, all at our location is great. You know, it's nice to be able to offer the complete package.
Yeah, I think for me and my dad, you know, that's this place very close to home, and we got lucky with the you know, the expertise and the knowledge that you guys offer from you down to Eddie down to everybody there, even just the students that come, you know, hungry white belts. You learn from everybody, so it's very convenient in that sense. Um, let's move to oh yeah, this is one thing that I think it will be good for the project. So a lot of MMA gyms you hear, whether it's smokescreen or legit, that there's like concerns of sexism and you know the role of women, but that's not the case at Black Hole. I mean, just touch on you know the role Aaron has at the gym, because I think that's um, important for you know that aspect of it.
I mean, I think Aaron is a good example of what jiu-jitsu can bring to the entire community, but even just, you know, women who want to be empowered and be able to defend themselves. You know, guys come in here on their first day and think they're tough and don't know what to expect rolling with a girl, and then Aaron throws them around the mat and rips their arm off. And it's kind of like an eye-opener that jiu-jitsu can be a big equalizer. You know, the time you put in here really makes a big difference. You train hard, you work hard. It doesn't matter how big you are, how strong you are. If you learn the technique, you're going to be able to defend yourself, you know? And I think Aaron is the, you know, best example of that we have. You know, you have guys over 200 pounds come in here who have sports backgrounds in high school, sports backgrounds in college, and I think that they're tough and they can defend themselves, and then they're in for a rude awakening sometimes. But, you know, I think if there was going to be one, you know, poster for the gym, somebody who, you know, what jiu-jitsu can do for them, Aaron is a good example. You know, we get a lot of new girls who come into the gym and they really look up to Aaron. They see her out there, you know, throwing guys around and tapping them out. And, you know, they look at her and they think, you know, they want to be able to do that someday. So it's, you know, it's been a real blessing to have her at the gym.
Yeah. All right. So we'll wrap up here with the first the segment here. You touched on it when we started, but how do you balance you know training and coaching as opposed to the operational side of it?
Uh, you know, it kind of all goes hand in hand. You know, the operational side of things have to get done, otherwise we don't have the space to train in and coach in. But you know, I work another job overnight. I kind of just try to do everything as efficiently as I can and try to get it all done. I mean, you know, I get up, I handle any business emails we have to do, any bills that need to get paid, all of that. Plan out lessons, go to the gym, teach kids class, you know, striking or wrestling, adult class, and then dinner, go to work, and just do the next thing. You know, do it over again the next day. It's you know, all part of the fun. And I miss having the gym open and being able to do that. You know, I definitely didn't have to worry about killing all of this free time before. I was very busy, but you know, I wouldn't rather be doing anything else. It's kind of, you know, it's all part of it. Running the gym, the business side, you know, the teaching side, watching film and learning new technique to be able to bring it to all you guys. You know, it's all really enjoyable.
Yeah, no, I could see that. But it I mean, like you said, you wouldn't rather be doing anything else. Is it like a dream job for you uh, at this point?
Yeah, I mean, it's a dream job for me, but with the virus and everything going on and seeing the effect it's having on gyms, it makes me think twice about making it a full-time thing as opposed to a hobby. It's crazy seeing how a pandemic like this that nobody expected can be making so many small businesses close, putting them out of business, or really ruining them financially. So at one point, I was thinking about you know trying to quit my job and be able to run the gym full time, but I definitely have to think about that some more, especially with how things have been the past couple of months.
All right, so let's get into the fun stuff. Jiu-jitsu, MMA, we'll just talk technique, talk situations, and yeah, this is, I'm just gonna pick your brain, like I said. But before we get into that, why don't you detail your getting into martial arts and how you came up a little bit more?
All right. So I think the first martial art I actually did was like traditional Japanese jiu-jitsu. I was lifting at like a local weightlifting gym. One of the guys who I used to lift was like, "Hey, you should come try out jiu-jitsu. It's fun." And I got over there, and it was more self-defense oriented than it was more like sport. A lot of it was like the traditional martial arts. These moves are too dangerous to practice on your training partners because you could accidentally kill them. So we can't do them live. And I did that for a little while, and I really liked it, but I didn't like there wasn't as much live sparring as I hoped to do. And that's where I ended up getting into, college judo. I had wrestled before that. I was used to wrestling live, and it was my favorite sport. I loved it, and I was looking for something else to do like that after high school. And a friend of mine got me into judo, and that was, it's very similar to jiu-jitsu, except the rules are different. You compete with a gi on, you're working to throw your partner to the ground, submit them, but the idea is the same. It's grappling. So there's a lot of carryover from wrestling, a lot of carryover from jiu-jitsu. And I competed in that for a while. I did a season of college wrestling in between when I was doing judo. And then, someone from judo told me about Brazilian jiu-jitsu. He pretty much sold it to me as being like judo, except with less rules, which was great. There's a lot of rules in judo as far as grabbing the legs. You can't shoot a double leg or a single leg like you would in wrestling. That's illegal in judo.
Mm-hmm.
Pushing on the face instead of submissions, armbar, and stuff like that is illegal. So I got into jiu-jitsu and tried it for a while, and it was everything I wanted. It was a grappling art where I could do submissions. There was less rules, and I started competing, and I loved it. It was great. So I trained at Adrenaline Gym. It was under Team Link up in Peekskill for a while. And then that gym closed down, and I went to Gracie Thornwood, and I trained there for years, got my purple belt, and then it closed down. And I trained at, that's when I started at gym, Blackhole Jiu-Jitsu. I got my brown belt and black belt under Mike Wacker, and then we opened up here in Westchester. So it's kind of been my journey up until where we are now.
So before we get into some other stuff, I think when I have BJJ guys on here, I don't really talk about the mindset going into a competition. What was that like for you? Would you be? I'm assuming nervous, obviously, but how would you kind of prep and hype yourself up to compete?
I've never really gone into the competitions hyped up. It's always something like up to it. Running through scenarios of things that could go bad, which is definitely not a good, healthy mindset to compete. You always want to be envisioning how you're going to win, victory. So my mindset going into competitions was never really great, but come day up, I never really I don't listen to music to pump myself up. I'm kind of just ready to go out there and get the job done. Competing's fun, but at the same time, the stakes competing and how you roll in the gym are very different. People are out there to finish the match by any means necessary. Sometimes in tournaments you got to hurt people, and that's not really. I don't enjoy that. I like training. I like pushing as hard as I possibly can, training with the best guys I can. But in tournaments, the stakes are higher and people don't want to tap, and it's really a different animal. So I think for people to compete, you really have to train for that and be ready for that.
Yeah, that's why I asked because when we come back, I'm definitely looking to cross over into that universe, I guess, because competing at the white belt level, and then we'll see where it goes from there. But yeah, it slips my mind to ask that, and I think I just have to find that for myself how that ends up. But I mean, we'll see.
Well, I mean, so what we would do to kind of get you ready for a competition is you'd simulate it in the gym. So you have people watching, you do whatever time limit the tournament you're competing in would be. You would set that on the clock, you would score points and kind of get used to having people watching you, people keeping score, different style of match. People in the gym will play around, they'll move through positions. In a match, if someone gets in a good spot, you have to be ready for them to try to hold you there the entire time and not move. They're happy to stomp on you. People get up on points and not try to go for a submission. So you need to really be able to work at bad spots. You need to be able to dictate the pace and try to get to your strongest positions as quickly as possible. You want to go in with a game plan, which you're good at, and prepare. So if you want to compete when you get back, we'll get you ready, get you rolling with people who have competed a lot at that level, and give you a taste of what you're in for.
Yeah, I'm excited to come back. And to get into some more of the classes. I mean, we were only going like once or twice a week, but just consistency, I think, is definitely a good thing to have. But obviously, so moving to we'll talk about the relationship between wrestling and jujitsu in the sense that when you were competing in MMA, obviously, I think the best place to be in an MMA fight as a fan, it looks like, it is probably the ability to take it to the ground and obviously control in top position, get in mount if you can, and then if you can just dictate the pace that way. It seems like. Can you speak to that at all as someone who not only wrestled but competed in MMA and has done jujitsu and kind of was able to use all that in the same octagon, I guess, in the same ring?
Yeah, so you're spot on with that. A lot of our fighters, whether they had a wrestling background or whether they'd never wrestled scholastically or anything like that, we really drill, wrestling. Takedowns out in the open, off strikes, up against the cage. You need to be able to decide where the match goes. So the biggest thing you'll see with a lot of the MMA fighters, like training with jiu-jitsu guys versus training with MMA fighters, is they're very good at getting up off the bottom. They're really hard to actually take down and keep on the floor because they'll keep fighting to get up. They won't accept and concede the position.
Mm-hmm.
And usually, if you train for a couple of MMA fights, you're forced to learn to take people down. And that's one of the big things you'll see out of the Blackhole programs. Is really focused on wrestling and being able to dictate where the match goes. Just like you said, being able to put someone like you're going up against a good striker, being able to put them on their back. It wins you the match. Put them on their back, get the top half guard, you can pin them, or even like you said, mount them in a bad spot and start, scoring points and working to finish the match is what you want to do. I think that people who wrestled in high school and college have a huge advantage in amateur MMA, especially if they came from a good program and really know what they're doing. You could win tons of matches at the amateur level just on wrestling alone. Being able to put someone on their back and control them. Makes a world of difference.
Yeah, I mean, again, watching, there's so many variables standing up that you could just get caught, and then, but you eliminate that once you take it to the ground, obviously. So I guess we'll transition here to what are some of your? I mean, you're at the highest level you can be. So what are some of your most effective strategies? In a general, if you want to get specific, be my guest. But obviously, don't give anything away if you don't want to. But in a general sense, what are some of the most effective things you have used to be successful in jiu-jitsu and MMA, I guess?
Over the past year and a half or 2 years competing, I've been working a lot of like pulling guard into ring entry. A lot of the popular no-gi competition strategy now revolves around attacking the legs, attacking the front headlock, with guillotine, and when people defend the neck from that position, being able to spin behind and take the back. But a big part of competing now too is a lot of the guys are working on their wrestling. Not even strictly from just like a stand, being able to level change and shoot well and set up, but more wrestling up the bottom positions. So being good in the scrambles where you can, grab a single leg off the bottom and work your way to the top position without getting guillotined, or, counter wrestling, being able to really tire someone out when they take a shot on you and to attack their back or at least scramble back to the feet. It's at the point jiu-jitsu is at now, you can't really be one-dimensional. All of the guys at the top level are very good, and they're good at a lot of different things. You can't just be a leg locker anymore because you get smashed, you get your back taken. You can't just be a wrestler because guys are still good off at the bottom if they're going to get legs. You really have to know how to do everything nowadays. So, like I said, a lot of my strategy has been pulling guard into the legs and, finishing ankles, heel hooks. But, that's not always an option against guys who are better at leg attacks. So, like with front head, you work back takes, it's, I don't know. It's hard to say exactly what my strategy is. I kind of take it.
It varies on opponent.
Yeah. It really depends on what your opponent's strengths are and what, you're confident in doing against them.
Okay, so I think I could work off a more interesting question, I guess. If, say you're competing, I guess, at your weight class, and it's a guy very similar, has very similar build to you, which is big and long. So how are you attacking somebody who's more similar to you in the sense that of size? And how would you attack somebody smaller to you, or not attack but approach in a match?
So are you talking, when you say bigger or smaller, are you saying taller or shorter but the same weight, or are you saying like an absolute division? Someone could be a different weight class, like an actual smaller person?
Yeah, I would say smaller weight class because I know that's a possibility.
So usually against people my size, if people are bigger and stronger, I like to look for 2-on-1 control from a stand and work to like a butterfly guard and look to shoot in for triangles, arm attacks, and if people start to rip their arms out to defend, look to enter into the legs and kind of off balance and work from there. If I get a top position, I'll usually try to cut them out. The last thing you want is to get in a good spot and lose it because you were too aggressive when you go for something too quick. So a lot of competing against strong people who I don't want to be underneath, it's once I get to a good spot where I can put some pressure on them, really trying to punish them and tire them out and let them make mistakes to give me openings instead of forcing something where I can get countered. And against smaller people, it's like I think an absolute match against someone who's like 130 pounds, someone like that, the big thing is not making a mistake. The last thing you want is to lose to someone who weighs 100 pounds less than you. So simply playing slow, tight, conservative, and making sure you don't, mess with the let them in at the legs or grab your neck in a tight chin strap where we can finish guillotine on you. But a lot of the times when I compete, I'm just kind of, I go out there and I do my thing. It's hard to say. I don't always go in with a strict game plan. It's more of I know which positions I'm strong in, and I try to force the match to where I'm strong and get my finishes.
Yeah, I mean, there's a tons of things that in the months I've been doing jiu-jitsu that I've learned on not less a technique level and more just how it works in the sense that, for example, a lot of it is when you're rolling, you can't go in with a and I've described it on the podcast here as a chess match. It's human chess, I think, in the purest form, because you can't go in and say, I'm gonna put my dad in a guillotine. What if he counters that pretty easily and he's able to slip out and then take my back, and then what are you gonna do? And then you're stuck with your back taken, and then your plan is Kaputski. So you kind of just have to go with the flow, with varying levels of that. Obviously, because you can't just throw caution to the wind, but trust your instincts, I guess.
Absolutely. Yeah, and I'd say let's say you want to work guillotines for a day and that's your game plan, trying to just force it is hard, but I think a good method to kind of learn how to implement like a certain attack into your training is find a couple of different ways where you could set it up. So you would work a movement where their counter kind of puts them into the guillotine and then try to really, work to that position and force that scenario against different opponents and see how they react and see how it kind of ties into your game. If the setup works, if you need to polish it up, or if you need to scrap it and look for a different method because it really doesn't fit for you, a lot of the time you just need to really like each training session commit to what you're trying to work on and what you're trying to learn and kind of train with a purpose. I think a lot of people use jiu-jitsu as a way to like escape and kind of just go get a workout and clear their mind, which is great. It's like therapy for a lot of people. But at the same time, if you want to get better quickly, I think going in with a goal of what you're trying to get as many reps in that spot, whether it's live, whether it's drilling, is one of the easiest ways to learn. Still there?
Yeah.
I think I was breaking up a little bit on this end.
Yeah, you're good. I can hear you now. That happens a lot.
All right.
Don't worry about it. But no, I got most of what you were saying there.
Did you have what was your next topic?
Oh, yeah. So I guess let me get the record button here. So I guess the next topic would be another thing I've learned is how many levels there is to this, because even at the white belt level, you put out a instructional for the Americana on Facebook and on your YouTube. But so me and my dad did that in the kitchen, and I mean, there's so many things. It's the different angles, the progression from the scarf to side control, and then you bring the leg over, and then even the grip. I mean, you have to really work on that, the pull down, the crossover between your right and left arm, and then it's really that turn on for me, it's turn on their left arm, and then the pull down on the right, but it's that turn and pull on the same beat. But like I said, the example is just so many levels to that one move in Americana, and to someone like you, I mean, it's it's bread and butter at this point. But it's just interesting that it's so multiverse like that.
Absolutely, and when you go to teaching, there's a lot of little details like that where, depending on the level of students you're teaching, it really changes the way you teach the move. Like you just said, there's a bunch of different directions and forces that come into finishing that movement. But if you were teaching it to a day one beginner, you'll leave a lot of those details out, because if you give them too many of the finishing details, they forget the big movements that are important to get them into that spot, and they only focus on the less than you showed. So that's a big part of teaching, is kind of tailoring the class to who's there and what they really need to pick up for that day. If I were to show that series, like the pushing the head step over to the Americana from the scarf hold that you were talking about, the way I show it to a white belt who's been training for 2 months versus how I show it to a blue belt versus how I show it to a purple, brown, or black belt who is going to use it to set up something else because they know the person is defending this. It's going to be different at each level, just based on, the amount of time in and people's abilities to really take in the details and be able to do all of them or just do some of them. Maybe you just show them one detail because anything more than that would kind of overload someone who's newer and taking everything in for the first time.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. I know in my experience at the gym, Eddie has left some stuff out for me, but in the best interest of the move and try to get the fun, because that's a fundamentals class, but to really get the fundamentals in. But what was the other thing I want to talk about? Oh, that was it. Oh yeah, no, we could continue on the guillotine, I guess. So so say you get your opponent on top position, you're on bottom. You can flow your grip under, controlling the head and neck, obviously at that point. Um, and depending on the strength of the opponent, like for example, everybody at Blackhole Westchester is bigger than me, and I, I think everybody from Donnie to you, I think I'm the smallest and one of the lesser skilled by default, just because I haven't been going that long. But say they're stronger, and in Donnie's case, probably faster. Um, they can either muscle their way out or shimmy out with a very through your hips. Should you turn on your side to trap them and kind of pin them with your weight, or but that can leave you exposed as well because then you can get fully trapped on your back, and then it opens a bunch of different things up. So I mean, that's another move that there's a bunch of levels to.
So you've been bringing up the guillotine like that. I think that's one where you can really dedicate a lot of time to understanding it, how it works. But in your case, like you said, people are stronger than you. They're able to just like turn and spin out. A lot of it is going to be understanding how to finish that choke from each direction, because the guillotine is one where you can finish it from the bottom.
Mm-hmm.
You can finish it with the guys on your side. You can finish it from the top. You can follow that process. But if it's someone who's bigger and they're trying to move their body to get out of it instead of fighting their hands, you can chase them through all of these different positions while you stay tight in the neck. Really work on how to stay tight and secure it. And that's something we can go over when you get back. But I even put a series out this week. Working from butterfly guard into like a position that they call snap guard. So you're starting on your bottom, and the person on top is kind of sitting back, not engaging. So you come up into like a standing base and push into them. Where if they stay where they are, you can come up the top position. If they push back in, they kind of give you the energy to snap their head right into a guillotine. But the grip would be a little bit different. So this is one where if your training partners are stronger, this will work pretty well. What you're looking to do is when you snap them down, instead of a traditional guillotine grip, which takes a lot of squeeze, you're pumping their head into your armpit and burying your head in here, and then putting pressure upwards. So it's almost like a front rear naked choke, and that's one that you could do on someone who's a lot bigger than you, and just with the leverage of the position, would be able to finish very easily. I'd say I think I posted it 2 days ago or 3 days ago, but I would take a look at that one.
Definitely.
As far as finishing details for you, and then kind of playing around with if you're practicing with your dad, if he turns to his side to run out of it, following him to both of you guys on your side, following him to mount, and getting the finish in these different positions. You can kind of build your entire jiu-jitsu game around that idea.
Yeah, like I said, so many levels, and that's something that I have to work on. Just a lot of it is really just soaking in to your brain, and then you have to immediately apply it because there's so much going on that it'll go out if you don't apply it that day. But what else was I going to say? Yeah, I think there's just so many levels to. I use that word a lot, but at Black Hole specifically for me, like I said, everybody's bigger than me, and so it's interesting to try to work out. I've been working out how to maybe beat that specific mold of jiu-jitsu player, but again, there's dynamic levels of like if I went with you, it's not only higher skill level just by belt rank and experience, but you're a little more docile and patient than say Mike would be. So there's different molds even with the bigger guys.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, yeah. It's that's the nice thing about jiu-jitsu, and having a lot of people to train with is that you get a lot of different looks. People who are aggressive, people who are patient, people who are stronger, weaker, longer, shorter. You get a bunch of different styles, and that's the cool thing about it is there's a lot of individuality. It's everyone has their own game and their own style, and you get to look at a lot of different things. So that brings a lot of fun to like learning. It's important that if you learn a move for the day, really try to go for it in training and try to see if it works and you implement it into your brain, because if you hit a lot of classes a week, you learn different stuff every class, and it's really easy to have that information go in one ear and with the other. So, really trying to drill the positions you work on and force them in live training make a big difference.
All right. I think that's pretty much it. I'm out of stuff to ask you. I only wrote some. I wrote a bunch of general notes about obviously the questions, and then more specific stuff about the moves. But I have nothing else. I think obviously thank you for coming on. It's a very big.
And hopefully we're able to get the gym back open in the new spot soon. And look forward to seeing you and your dad in here training hard.
Yeah, I'm excited, and I definitely want to get in there more. But yeah, that's it for today's pod. But before you let you go, Dan, why don't you just let people know where to find you on social media, where to find the gym, if you're, because a lot of listener base is local. If you want to come train, come check it out, some classes. I'd imagine you're more than welcome.
Absolutely. The new gym is at 2305 Roll Spot. It's a 3,000 square foot facility. We have weightlifting equipment, mats. We're going to have, boxing, kickboxing, kids jiu-jitsu. We have a jiu-jitsu program, wrestling. There's going to be a lot here. And if you want to come get an idea of what we're all about, you could find us on YouTube. You could search for Daniel Fazzino or for Blackhole BJJ Westchester. You'll find it. And we're also on Instagram at Blackhole BJJ Westchester and on Facebook at Blackhole Westchester. So, we're putting out a lot of instructional content. We have some highlight reels for tournaments up there. So if you're looking to see what jiu-jitsu is all about and, learn a little bit to have a head start for when you come in, check it out. Thank you for having me, Frankie.
Yep. Hopefully I'll see you soon.
Hopefully. See you later. You soon. There we go.
Okay.